Welcome to the channel. I'm AJ, and today we're going to be talking about a now defunct animation/drawing app that became pretty infamous during its peak and where many young artists started their digital art journey. FrameCast was an app that was developed by Daniel Okada and released on the Apple Store back in 2015. It functioned as an animation and drawing software as well as a form of social media, in which users could upload their animations, drawings, and pictures onto their profile. This second social media feature is what made the app so popular. It was also what led to its forming of niche communities and a whole lot of drama between users and with the moderation team, who often did not do the best job at creating a great environment within the app. I'd like to preface this all by saying I am talking from my experience and some things I've heard from other friends I made on there, some of whom I still keep in contact with. I wasn't there for the first few years of the app, but rather an avid user of the app from December of 2018 to the last day of operation on April 30th of 2021. I still have a lot of fond memories of my time there, mainly because of the people, not so much of the app or the developer per se. So I was pretty devastated to see it go, even if it was more or less expected by that point, since Kata had very little interest in fixing any of the bugs of the app or, maintaining it at all, leading to its closing. FrameCast is generally considered a quite toxic app, and while there certainly were moments when this was true, I attribute this to the fact that the app used to be 9+ for quite some time, and a lot of us were young artists just getting started exploring the internet, social media, and digital art. This, coupled with the constant drama and infighting within the mod team, meant that things could sometimes get out of hand pretty quickly. There certainly was a culture where problematic behavior was enabled to a degree, which wasn't great. There were a bunch of angsty preteens all just figuring stuff out, so what else could we really expect, however? I certainly blame Kata for not doing a better job managing everything, but I can't hold too much resentment towards the mod team. A lot of them were certainly trying their best and were probably overworked. Overall, I think having an outlet for artistic expression and a way to make friends with people who have similar interests was a very important thing for many of us at the time. So in my mind, the positives outweigh the negatives in the end, but I will be the first to admit that being on the app could be stressful and at times frustrating. It was an app that, when it was active, incentivized you to keep logging on, so you wouldn't be caught out of the loop. And it provided a little corner of the internet for niche communities to congregate and participate in discussions of their interests and sharing of fan art and role-playing. If there's one thing people will remember FrameCast for, it'll be the mountains upon mountains of fan art, edgy OCs, and its intense role-playing scene. FrameCast wasn't popular because of its software. If anything, I think FrameCast's animation software is amongst the most frustrating I've ever had to work with. But it was the community that kept us all coming back. FrameCast notified you of any time your friends uploaded or people commented and replied to you, and that's how it managed to retain your attention. It was more or less easy to amass a small following as long as you posted enough, and it was all about having people find you. No complex algorithm, it was all just dependent on user activity. During my time there, I was a part of a few fandoms before finding my long-term niche on FrameCast, which was the Standard community, and by extension, its little subcategory of Standard OCs. This was, for the next few years, my little corner of the internet within the greater FrameCast ecosystem. I think it was pretty tame drama-wise in comparison to other communities within the app, but it wasn't perfect. We had some drama from time to time. A few other communities there included the OC community, Undertale, Among Us at one point, Five Nights at Freddy, Country Humans, musicals, and many, many more. FrameCast could be a very active app at times, especially during vacational periods like the summer, but it also had periods of decline. A lot of the hardcore fans would go and come back or be continuously on. Some people just moved on with their interests in their sub-communities or FrameCast in general when it faded, and some people hopped from account to account. It was this constant cycle of people being very active, interest then slowly dwindling, and then people leaving, whilst the veterans stayed and newcomers slowly joined. Then it was just a repetition of this cycle, constantly. The moment things really took a turn for the worse was when, because a couple of the rules of the platform were changed substantially. The app became 13+, and more restrictions were established, like the banning of gore, even derivatives of it like pastel gore, which frustrated a lot of people, me included, given the age was turned up, so it made no sense to restrict us more. This also came at a time where Kata had clearly stopped caring whatsoever about the app, so it wasn't well received, like at all. A big part of the outrage came from the fact that we'd been waiting for a few updates and bug fixes for over 3 years by that point, and it showed that he could change things if he wanted, and he just didn't care to do so. During this time, the moderation team also seemed to be experiencing a lot of issues, as there were less mods and a whole lot of infighting, leaving the remaining mods to either be overworked or not take their job seriously. What's worse is that after this announcement, FrameCast only stuck around for a few more months before its closure would be announced. One day, we simply got an announcement by Koda that the app would close on April 30th of 2021. It was surprising at the moment, but looking back, things had been on a decline for a while. At the time of writing this, FrameCast has been shut down for over a year. Daniel Okada has continued to prove his lack of interest in the actual art community, having turned his attention to NFTs. Which is frustrating, but not all that surprising. Not everyone had a positive experience on FrameCast, and it's easy to see why. But I still kind of miss it sometimes. It was an important part of my art journey and that of others as well. I made a lot of great friends, some of whom I still keep in contact with. I'm not as upset as I used to be that it's gone, as it means a lot of my old cringy content is lost now, which is sort of a blessing if you really think about it. But I also know things will never be quite the same. It was an experience, and I do appreciate FrameCast for what it was. To any FrameCast or Drawcast veterans in the crowd, feel free to drop a comment and claim your I was there badge, and or tell me about your experience with the platform or any other thoughts you have on all of this. But this is all for this video, and I shall see you later.